Three major central banks are deciding interest rates in the same stretch of days that Coinbase and Strategy report earnings, and crypto traders are bracing for the shockwaves. That's the story of this week, Monday the 27th of July 2026, and it's being called Crypto Week ahead by market commentators for good reason. You've got the Federal Reserve weighing its next move, the Bank of Japan under scrutiny, a wave of big tech earnings, and a month-end crypto options expiry all landing at once. When that many high-impact events stack up in a single week, volatility tends to follow, and Bitcoin, Ethereum and the stocks tied to them are sitting right in the blast radius. If you hold crypto, or you're watching from the sidelines wondering when to get in, this is the week that could set the tone for the rest of the summer. The Federal Reserve's meeting this week is the single biggest event on the calendar. After more than a year of gradual policy shifts, investors are split on whether the Fed holds steady or signals a further move in its cutting cycle. What matters for crypto specifically is the tone, not just the number. Bitcoin has repeatedly shown itself sensitive to Fed language around inflation and liquidity, because looser policy tends to push capital toward risk assets, while a hawkish surprise can trigger sharp sell-offs. Traders are watching the accompanying statement and press conference just as closely as the rate decision itself, looking for hints about the pace of future moves. Given how tightly crypto has traded alongside tech stocks in 2026, any shift in the Fed's tone this week is likely to ripple straight through digital asset prices within hours. The Fed isn't the only central bank in focus. The Bank of Japan's policy meeting this week is being watched for any signal on further normalization after its long departure from ultra-loose policy, and that matters globally because Japanese capital flows have been a major source of liquidity into risk assets, crypto included. Commentators have dubbed this a super central bank week, with the Bank of England's own policy stance also feeding into the mix for UK-based investors. A hawkish surprise from Tokyo could tighten global liquidity conditions just as US markets digest the Fed, creating a double squeeze on speculative assets. For crypto traders, that means this week isn't a single event risk, it's layered risk from three different corners of the world simultaneously. Coinbase is among the companies reporting earnings in the days ahead, and its results are treated as a bellwether for the entire crypto industry, not just one exchange. Analysts will be looking closely at trading volumes, subscription and services revenue, and how the platform's institutional custody business is performing. Coinbase's share price has historically moved in tandem with Bitcoin's price action, but earnings day tends to introduce its own volatility on top of that, driven by guidance on regulatory costs and expansion plans. With crypto adoption still expanding among institutional players, Coinbase's commentary on client demand will be read as a signal of whether big money is still flowing into digital assets or pulling back amid rate uncertainty. Strategy, the company formerly known as MicroStrategy, remains one of the most closely watched corporate holders of Bitcoin anywhere in the world, and its earnings this week will be dissected for updates on its holdings and financing strategy. The firm has built its entire corporate identity around accumulating Bitcoin using a mix of debt and equity raises, which means its stock behaves almost like a leveraged proxy for Bitcoin's price. When Bitcoin rallies, strategy shares tend to outperform, and when it falls, losses can be magnified. This week's results will reveal whether the company has added to its holdings recently and how its balance sheet is holding up under current interest rate conditions, since higher borrowing costs directly affect the economics of its strategy. Layered on top of the central bank decisions is a run of earnings from some of the largest technology companies in the world, often referred to as the Big Four tech giants, alongside major results from Japan and South Korea's memory chip makers. These results matter for crypto indirectly, because risk appetite across tech and crypto markets tends to move together, and a disappointing set of earnings can drag sentiment down across both. On top of that, this week brings a month-end crypto options expiry, a recurring event where large volumes of Bitcoin and Ethereum options contracts settle. These expiries have a well-documented history of causing short-term price pinning or sudden swings as market makers adjust their positions, adding yet another layer of volatility to an already crowded week. Right now, the combination of these events is already showing up in trading behavior. Options markets are pricing in wider than usual price swings for Bitcoin over the coming days, and trading desks report that positioning has become more cautious ahead of the Fed decision. Retail investors watching Coinbase and Strategy are treating this week as a test of whether crypto can hold its recent gains in the face of macro uncertainty, while institutional desks are hedging exposure rather than making large directional bets until the central bank picture becomes clearer. This is a week where headlines move markets fast, and the gap between crypto's reaction to a Fed statement and its reaction to an earnings report can be a matter of minutes rather than hours. Looking ahead, the near-term direction for crypto will likely hinge on whether the Fed's tone this week is read as dovish or hawkish, and whether Coinbase and Strategy deliver results that reassure investors about institutional demand. If the Fed leans toward easing and earnings come in solid, expect renewed risk appetite to flow back into Bitcoin and the broader crypto market. If instead central banks sound more hawkish than expected, or earnings disappoint, the combination with month-end options expiry could accelerate any downside move. Either way, the days immediately following this week's events will likely set the tone for crypto sentiment heading into August, making it a genuinely pivotal stretch rather than just another news cycle. The core lesson from this crypto week ahead is that digital assets no longer trade in isolation. Interest rate decisions from the Fed, the Bank of Japan and the Bank of England, combined with earnings from Coinbase, Strategy, and the world's biggest tech companies, are now deeply intertwined with Bitcoin and Ethereum price action. If you're holding crypto or considering an entry point, the smart move this week is to watch the macro calendar just as closely as the charts, because in a week this crowded, the next big move in crypto is far more likely to be triggered by a central banker's words or an earnings call than by anything happening on-chain.